Hello and welcome to the second annual Cleveland Classic Cinema Christmas Marathon. I'll be doing intros for tonight's movies in order instead of doing them all at once, so the last film will be a surprise. I'm pretty positive it's going to be a surprise, a lot like getting coal in your stocking, but hopefully what comes before will make up for it. I was in a bit of a dither figuring out what to show tonight. There are plenty of Christmas-themed movies out there for sure, but not many of them are in the public domain, and the ones that are, for the most part, there for a reason. Nicholas Webster's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians or Rene Cordona's Santa Claus are there for obvious reasons, just as Michael Curtiz's White Christmas or Mark Sandwich's Holiday Inn aren't. The pickings are slim, my friends, very slim, unless I wanted to show old episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies or, God forbid, Christmas with Betty White. I searched around for a good while and finally decided what better gift could I give my beloved viewers than laughter. There's more than enough stress to go around during the holiday season, and some of the Christmas shows I found during the search for stuff to show were just a little too heavy, like The Little Match Girl, you know? I mean, seriously, a story about an adorable little girlie who was abused at home and forced to go out in the middle of a blizzard to sell matches only to end up freezing to death? I mean, my God, what kind of maniac writes a story like that? I remember reading that as a kid and being absolutely traumatized by it. Hell, when I was a kid, the song I'm a Lonely Little Petunia in an Onion Patch broke my heart when I saw it on Captain Kangaroo. I'm sure there were deeper meanings to both of these stories, but as a kid I didn't see them. I only saw what was on the surface. Just the fact that I can recall that is a sign of how badly it scarred me. And don't even get me started on Mr. Jingling. Well, enough bad nostalgia. Let's get to the movies. Our first film tonight is 1940's The Bank Dick, directed by Edward F. Klein. By 1940, W.C. Fields' career was winding down. He'd been a star in vaudeville and on the stage. He'd appeared in every Ziegfeld Follies from 1915 through 1921 and played on Broadway for a year before going into movies. He started out as a juggler, and he was amazing at it, but he also had several other bits he would do, like his pool act or his golf act. He was 60 years old at the time this film was made, and age and drinking had been catching up on him for a number of years. If you're familiar with his movies, you'll see that his delivery and reactions are a bit slower than they were in previous films, but he's still just as funny as he ever was. There are two versions of the W.C. Fields character. The one that most people seem familiar with is the con man characters, such as Larceny Pettifogger. The other is my favorite, the henpecked husband. When he's that character, he's more sympathetic, as usually he's surrounded by the most unpleasant family you can possibly imagine. In some movies, such as 1935's The Man on the Flying Trapeze, his daughter is the only one that truly understands him and cares openly for him, while the rest of his family, in this case his second wife, mother-in-law, and brother-in-law, a lazy, spoiled lout who lives with him, are openly hostile and verbally abusive. Then there are movies like tonight's where his family is just ridiculously indifferent and nasty, the mother-in-law in particular. He puts up with the abuse and indifference, but he does it on his terms, muttering asides as he carries on the best he can. This trait is something Fields picked up from his mother, incidentally. When he was young, the family would sit out on the front porch of their home and listen as his mother would greet the various neighbors walking by the house and make wisecracks out of the side of her mouth after exchanging pleasantries. There is one thing I don't like about this movie, and I'm fairly sure, although I can't prove it, that it was a decision made by the studio and not Fields himself: the addition of funny music. If you look at any of his previous films, like It's a Gift, you'll notice that there's very little music in them other than generic background music. In The Bank Dick, you first have the burlesque-like version of There's No Place Like Home, and it just gets worse from there. This is nitpicking, however. The movie is still hilarious despite the punch-you-in-the-face attitude of the music. I already covered the life of W.C. Fields in the intro for It's a Gift, so in this one I'll tell you about some of the secondary characters. Una Merkel was born Una Kohnfelder on December 10, 1903 in Covington, Kentucky. She began her career as a stand-in for Lillian Gish and actually bore a strong resemblance to her, eventually appearing in 115 films and television shows over the course of her career. She left films after a while and went to Broadway for a few years before returning to Hollywood and appearing in D.W. Griffith's 1930 film Abraham Lincoln, and soon after, her comic talent was discovered. She began landing mostly featured roles after that, often appearing as a heroine's no-nonsense yet comical sidekick. She appeared as a chorus girl in 1933's 42nd Street and was nominated for a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for 1961's Summer and Smoke. Una Merkel died on January 2, 1986 in Los Angeles, California. Grady Harwell Sutton was born on April 5, 1906 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He broke into films while on summer vacation in Hollywood with his roommate, the brother of director William A. Cedar. He was invited onto the set and cast as an extra in 1925's The Mad Whirl and ended up staying in Hollywood for the next 50 years. He specialized in playing naive young baby-faced men who were either completely befuddled or hicks, and is best known for his appearances in W.C. Fields movies like the one you're about to see. Sutton never had a starring role, but he was instantly recognizable and always gave a terrific performance. He played off type in The Man on the Flying Trapeze as Fields' incredibly obnoxious, spoiled brother-in-law and excelled. He appeared in over 200 films and short subjects during his long career, in addition to appearing in hundreds of commercials. He attempted to enlist in World War II, but the Army wouldn't take him because of a bad stomach, so he got a job at Lockheed to support the war effort. Grady Sutton died of natural causes on September 17, 1995 in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, California. Franklin Pangborn was born on January 23, 1889 in Newark, New Jersey. He specialized in playing prissy, fussy characters who tried above all to maintain order in whatever job they held, be it a floor walker, hotel manager, bank examiner, or studio head. He was invariably surrounded by crackpots or total incompetence, and his impatience would escalate with hilarious results. He appeared in 233 films and television shows over the course of his long career, usually playing some variation of his fussy character. The first time I ever saw him was in the 1933 Our Gang short Wild Poses, playing photographer Otto Focus, trying desperately to get pictures of Spanky McFarland, and I still crack up whenever I think about it. His prissiness contrasted with Spanky's no-nonsense attitude was absolutely priceless. Where his on-screen persona was usually, although not always, comedic, he was an accomplished stage actor and did many dramas while on the boards. In the last decade of his life, he appeared on many television shows and appeared as a guest announcer on The Tonight Show when Jack Paar took it over from Steve Allen. Pangborn was what was politely referred to as a Twilight gentleman, gay in other words, at a time when being openly homosexual was a death sentence to an actor's career, but he was very careful in his private life, as a gay person had to be at the time, not just in Hollywood, but in this country in general. His sexual preference was an open secret in Hollywood, but he was such an excellent character actor and such a true gentleman that no one objected. He was never outed, and I think that's probably a good thing. I always felt that a person's private life is just that, private. And if they choose to keep it that way, it's not up to anyone else to change that. When Bob Clampett created his Goofy Gopher characters, Macintosh, he styled their characters and voices after Pangborn and Edward Everett Horton, another character actor who was noted for his fussy, slightly effeminate style. Franklin Pangborn died from complications following surgery to remove a malignant tumor on July 20th, 1958 in Santa Monica, California. I first saw The Bank Deck on an all-night movie marathon back in the early 70s, I believe it was, and it was my first exposure to the genius of W.C. Fields. If this is your first time watching a Fields movie, I'm proud to share it with you. So right now, sit back, relax, and enjoy The Bank Deck right here on Cleveland Classic Cinema Christmas Marathon.